as promised, we're gonna do this video of what it's like to be a foreigner living in Denmark. I'm Cici and I'm Danish. Elliot's from England and we live together in Denmark when we're not out traveling. So you guys, you have asked a lot of questions, really good questions. So I'm actually really excited to hear what Elliot has to say. So let's dig in. Okay. There's some really funny questions coming up. I'm so excited. This one. Do you like Danish bacon?
Yeah.
England, right? In England they eat a different kind of bacon than we do. We eat something called streaky bacon, is that what you call it? So it's more like crispy. And the very popular and fine bacon in England is actually Danish bacon. When you go and you buy your bacon in the English supermarkets, it says like Danish bacon as if that's this kind of luxury thing, right? That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Like it's two separate things for me.
Yeah.
Like I always really like streaky bacon. Like you can use it for different things. Like, I would eat normal crispy, but like your bacon, streaky bacon with like a breakfast on its own, like with other stuff. But like English bacon goes perfect in a sandwich.
Yeah.
A bacon butty, as we call it. Or
next question. Do you ever get used to how expensive things are?
yeah, definitely. I think that, like, again, if I compare it to London, London's extremely expensive anyway, so there's not much difference between things. Once you start earning and you have a job in Denmark, and you're earning the money, then you get more used to it. But I definitely think when you go to buy a beer and it costs, say, 65 Danish kroner, which is like around about £8, British pounds, or around what, $9–10. You do sort of like have a mini heart attack when you pay the money, because you're like, wow, this is a lot of money.
It's like,
for
it's
like
not worth it.
half a litre of beer.
But that's why we like, if you're going out, we pre-drink.
Yeah, but I think
because we can't afford it.
I think like at first I was like, it was crazy, like going to the most cheapest supermarket, which has the worst quality meat, food, everything. Like it's such bad quality, and then you come out and it's as though, for English people understand this, it's like walking out of Waitrose, which is like one of the most expensive supermarkets, or Marks and Spencer's, which are like the top end supermarkets, and you've spent the same amount as what you would do on a shop there. Then you think, wow, like this is very expensive. Denmark, it's like you don't have any communication with the person at the till. Like it's literally the only thing they say is, they literally don't even say, do you want a receipt? It's just receipt. And then you just go, well, no,
and compared to England, when you go to the supermarket and you go to the till and the lady's like, oh, hello, how are you today? Imagine if that happened in Denmark.
Yeah, it depends on the supermarket.
You'd be like, what?
Exactly.
Do you care about me?
Exactly.
Now we're gonna go over more to like England versus Denmark questions.
Okay. England's better.
No, we're not moving here.
Okay.
Okay. Do you miss your cup of tea?
All the time. I think like...
We have your tea in my country.
Like what I do is I get my parents to send me over, there's only one brand of tea that I drink called Yorkshire tea, and I get my parents to send over, whenever we run out, send over tea bags, and they'll send over maybe like 200 to 500 bags every time, or whenever they come visit I make sure they bring some. But the main thing I miss, even when I have that brand of tea, it still doesn't taste the same. It's something to do with the water.
It doesn't taste the same.
And it's also something to do with the milk. Like English milk is amazing. Like honestly, that's one thing I've learned. English milk is the best milk I think in the world. But maybe the fat content's a bit higher, but it tastes good. It's more like thick, whereas Danish milk is like water. It has like a watery like consistency, whereas like English milk is just more thick, and it just goes so much better in a cup of tea.
What do you miss the most about England?
Miss eating a roast dinner every Sunday. Sometimes miss like English bacon and sausages and things like that. Customer service,
yes,
as well. Like in Denmark, yes, especially,
I agree.
There's not a big emphasis on customer service. Even if you're paying for a service, they tend to be still act very arrogant, and it's like you don't get that feeling of like, okay, I want to buy this from you because you're being friendly or polite to me. It's just like,
I'm only buying it because I have to do it.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, what is better in Denmark than England?
Living conditions, perhaps. Like in Copenhagen, you can have quite a nice apartment in the centre, or relatively central to the city, or you can buy apartments that are relatively okay price. Whereas like in London, for like the same, like even for the same price or even more expensive, you'll get rubbish. Like you can literally get like a mouldy, old, disgusting place to live in. So I think like the way that you live is slightly like nicer in Denmark.
What do you think of Danish work culture?
Danish work culture, what they tend to pride themselves on is that they have more of a flat hierarchy structure, which means that the company, you don't have so many levels, or at least those levels are more invisible. You can say your opinion to your manager or even the CEO of a company, and it should then be accepted that the CEO of that company or the director should listen and should take those things on board, and it's not seen as, you know, a negative thing. For instance, someone who's very low, like an intern, to speak their mind in a meeting in front of directors or something.
I'm also thinking work culture, like, you know, work-life balance.
I think that, you know, for most, I think the work-life balance in Denmark, it tends to be very good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I could work in London.
Yeah.
I would miss my freedom.
Yeah.
Is it hard to get used to the Danish humor, like irony and sarcasm?
The humor with English and Danish people is actually very similar. Yeah.
The only difference is that sometimes British people are a little bit more polite in the way they like make their jokes, but that's only recently. 10 years ago they were very straightforward.
Exactly. So I think that definitely when it comes to jokes we're very similar.
Yeah.
But I think that, and maybe this is another question that might get asked,
yeah,
but I think Danish people tend to be a lot more direct in their communication.
Yeah.
So often Danes will say things exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And when they say something, they mean it.
Yeah.
Whereas English people, we try to like
wrap it
in, you know, in bubble wrap and say things, but not actually always maybe mean the things that we're going to say. So
their Danes are very different. They just speak their mind.
Exactly.
Definitely. Okay, next question. It is, was it hard to make Danish friends?
So I think having a Danish girlfriend made it easier. But I think what helped massively for me was when I moved to Denmark just for a summer. It was just a sort of initial period before moving here permanently. It was coming out for the summer for about 4 months, and I got a job at a restaurant. And there I met a group of people that I ended up, I'm still friends with to this day. Yeah,
some of your best friends today.
Best friends to today, yeah. So I think working, especially being with like a group of other young people, working in a restaurant which is more of an informal environment, I sort of established some friends there. And I think now I've been going on, I've worked in a few different places. I played rugby for a while. Yeah, I think and also studying as well with my classmates and other people.
Yeah. So I also think that a lot of Danes, they have quite an international mindset. Like half of the people I know, they study in English, so they actually enjoy having international friends. So hopefully in the future, I totally embrace the international culture.
Like Danish language itself is very difficult to learn. Especially because the way that it's written is not the way that it's spoken. So I still don't speak fluent Danish. No. I would say that I can understand the basics, or at least speak the basics. I can understand, I'd say, around 80 to 90% of the conversation, as long as it's not in a huge group of people, in a very loud environment.
What do you think of the language? Do you like it, or?
I think it's very similar.
What do you think it sounds like?
I think it sounds very similar to German.
Oh, don't say that.
So I think that it's not the most beautiful. Let's say it's not the most beautiful language in the world, and it's also like Scandinavian languages like Swedish and Norwegian. Especially Swedish sound very nice because it sounds a lot like singing, whereas Danish sounds a little bit more rough. So Swedish is definitely a more beautiful, one of the more beautiful Scandinavian.
Well, you don't have a Swedish girlfriend, so.
Exactly.